This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express Monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC Pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode. This is a week in review of April 16th, 2022. We got Zach back on the show. Welcome back, Zach.
Thanks for having me. Good to be back.
Awesome. Zach's on. Even though we love Zach, we love to have him on. We always bring him on with a purpose, though. Right? He's a busy man. He's got a schedule. But today, Zach, who is a cast member at the World, got to ride Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. He's going to come and talk about his feelings, his thoughts, and maybe some comparisons. But this will be a no-spoiler episode. So for those of you worrying, we're not going to talk about what he saw, what it was like, all this other stuff. We're going to talk about everything around it to get you hyped for your first chance to get on the attraction. That being said, getting down to the World is something that's kind of changing for everybody out there. We're going to talk a little bit more about Matt Pato's DCI and some of his lists from his podcast. But it got me thinking, because he was talking about in Discord how he's going down in May with a buddy of his for like a quick jaunt down the weekend. So they got me thinking, how are people changing the way they go to Walt Disney World? Right? So, you know, your typical family or trip with friends, you go down for a week, 5 days, somewhere around there. Are more micro vacations to Walt Disney World becoming a thing? And I say this because, A, you know, you're getting less of a discount when you buy larger ticket packages, so that's going up specifically. It's just more darned expensive as it is, so you're paying more per day, especially with the inclusion of Disney Plus. So one of the things that Matt was talking about in our trip planning section of Discord is, I'm paying for Genie Plus. I'm getting all the individual lightning lanes. I'm only going less days, but I'm pumping up the cost per day to get everything done. So, Phil, I'm going to throw this at you as somebody that does a traditional Walt Disney World vacation at least every 18 months. Is this something that you can think about doing with your family? Because I did this back in September, right? That was my last trip. It was a weekend getaway. Is this something that you'd like to you personally would do? And do you see this as a trend elsewhere?
Yes. So I definitely think the way costs are going and the lack of discounts and all those sorts of things, the per day cost of visiting Disney is quite a bit higher than it was just a few years ago. So I think the two ways to sort of handle, well, I guess the three ways, one is just throw more money at it if you're able to. But the realistically two ways to do it are go for a shorter amount of time and kind of just crank out things in those days, like you said, or go less often. Right. You could just do, every 2 years instead of every year, do a big trip. So we're still kind of deciding which way we're going to go. We do tentatively are thinking about doing a trip this December, which would be like that, like a long weekend, basically, like 4 nights to go down for my son's birthday. But yeah, that's part of why it's like, let's get in for a long weekend, hit, maybe only 3 of the parks, but like we're going to spend more money. We know we're going to buy, I'm sure we'll buy at least a couple, individual lightning lanes and stuff like that, and kind of crank out as much as we can on those 3 days, kind of get in, get out, and experience the magic, but do it quickly because we know it's going to be more money per day.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking like if you could justify spending, I don't know, $5,000 for a quick trip versus $10,000 for, a longer trip, you might be able to do that twice a year, and that credit card bill is not as painful. Yep. Zach, among your circle, you were mentioning some friends. That's how they do it anyway. Are you seeing more and more friends do it that way? What's your read on the situation?
Yes and no. It depends on the person, obviously.
Sure.
I'll say when I wasn't a cast member and also living in Florida, I would come down here, but usually my maximum amount of days my minimum amount of days would be about 5 days. I'd usually want to make it a full week if I was traveling. And that's because I was traveling by airfare. I think if I lived closer and I was able to drive, I think the short weekend trips are more enticing to those that are closer, but I don't necessarily know if it would be the most beneficial thing for like people from out of state, maybe like a 4 or 5 hour drive away. to do that, just because obviously right now with airfare prices and everything being very, very high.
It stinks swallowing a $1,500 bill just to get my family to Orlando from Baltimore, which doesn't seem like a very far way to fly, but it's very expensive. I don't know. I personally, I might be biased because I think I can justify going down for the cost of a weekend versus the cost of a $9,000 vacation with a family of 5 for a week. So I might be able to get down there more often if I just swallow the shorter stay.
I will say, my friends that do come down here though for just a weekend come down with a purpose. Like I've had friends come literally just when Festival of Fantasy came back at Magic Kingdom. They made a
Okay.
trip for that. Made a trip just for the 50th anniversary back in October. Just it's usually for a purpose. Like my friends are already talking about whenever Fantasmic comes back at Hollywood Studios, they're gonna make a really quick trip back down. So
That's cool. I mean, I would love to be able to do that. I kind of joke in Discord every once in a while. I'm just going to go down for whatever, and then my wife surprised me with the motivation to see Happily Ever After one last time back in September. So I was happy to do that. I want to move on now because Phil warned me. Is this a cold open question or is this like a whole episode question? I feel like if we kept talking, it might keep going on and on. So Matt has the DCI. It's been updated a little bit, still sitting at around 83.99%. But there's some massive changes. Phil, why don't you fill in with some of the updates? Because this is kind of like a newsy type of thing, and that's what you're an expert at.
So Matt went through over the weekend because that's what I guess when you're an old married guy like us, that's what you do over the weekend is you do an audit of your Disney spreadsheets. And he found about 55 new items that he had missed before that needed to be added and did all his rebalancing, things like valet parking and room service and things like that were part of the resort guest experience, at least for some resort guests that hadn't been taken into account, and a few other things. So that had some rebalancing. So that saw the number drop a little bit. But then today, we are recording actually on Monday, the 18th is today when the traditional meet and greets came back. So prior to that, Matt had a penalty in there, and I see Zach's happy about the traditional meets coming back. A penalty in there of about a little over 50%, I think, due to distant meets, no hugs, no autographs, stuff like that. So now that they are back, it seems like at least all the existing ones that were there, and maybe a couple extra, have already switched over. There's still a number of meets missing, so there is still more room for more benefit to come. But just the existing ones switching sort of structure of meet added about 1.5 to the whole comeback index. So that's why we're up just right at about 84% after being at about 82.5.
So what happened with Scott Gustin today?
Yeah.
A comical exchange.
Yeah, it was some fun back and forth, but so obviously everyone said the hugs are back and then touring plans were out, and don't forget your autograph books. And then Scott Gustin said he's really happy to see traditional meet and greets are back, but bringing back autographs is a mistake. And that, I think, got a lot of people talking like, oh, do we think autographs are a mistake? And some people agreed with him, saying they could take up a lot of time and just have them stamp the card or hand out like something that has the signature or something like that. But obviously a lot of other people are defending that, saying, how their kids treat it as, like a scavenger hunt almost. And like, that's like almost like a free souvenir, and you look through the book and collect them and stuff like that. So it was good. Len responded to him, of course, saying, so do you also hate puppy dogs, rainbows, and love, Scott? So, some good natured back and forth, but it is kind of interesting that there are two sides to everything, right? It does bring back, the more time that each character takes with a guest, the longer that makes the line. But Disney could always just bring back some more meet and greets to help spread around the crowd of people that want to visit the character. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously today, lines for meeting Mickey and stuff like that were very long, but we'll see if they even out over time.
Zach, are you pro autograph at meet and greets?
I'm actually not.
I'm with you on this one. My kids have had autograph books at all ages from, newborn to 7, right? And no one cared about any of them. I tried making my kids, this is Mickey's autograph. This is, you got to keep this. And the book would become a coloring book like weeks later with all the empty pages. And they would never have the same one. They would get lost. And to me, if my kids aren't respecting it, I guess respecting is the wrong word. They're kids; they can do whatever they want with the paper and have fun with it. But I know, Phil, you're a pro autograph. You have some awesome like decorations around the house. It's part of like your keepsake from your trips. So I mean, like I would never want to take that away from somebody, right? I mean, that's a big part of what people on Discord saying my kids love doing this. This is like what they miss the most. This, so there's a connection to it. And I had a snarky idea. It's like, well, if kids want autographs, then they just need to go do character dining and pay for it. And that's the only place autographs would be kept. And I wouldn't be surprised if Disney did that, just because forcing people to spend that money. I don't know how much it slows down too much usually, because you're taking 1,000 pictures and posing anyway. So that's usually what's slowing things down for the most part. But
that's the experiences I've had. I mean, sometimes people have to dig around for markers and stuff like that. But usually the cast members, the attendants are trying to get people like, make sure you have your autographs out and things like that, or autograph books out. But I was telling a story of the worst experience that I had was we were waiting to meet a character, and this couple in front of us was taking tons of photos with the characters and all different positions and stuff like that. Then they left and it was our turn. I noticed they didn't like actually leave the room. They were just kind of off to the side and they were looking through their phone, looking at all the pictures. And then while we were in the middle of our meet, they came back and interrupted us because they didn't like the quality of the photos. They wanted more photos. So they told us to back off so they could get like redo their photos. So, so I guess I'm more anti-photo than I am.
But here's the thing: like, what are you using these pictures for, right? I mean, if you're taking them with a camera, right, like your cell phone camera, let's say, they're not going to be the highest quality photo with the lighting and everything else in there. So what are you doing in those photos that you need to be the perfect?
I don't know if they're doing selfies and posting on social media or what they're doing, but it was just we're just like we didn't know what to do. We were just like, okay. But
you hope and pray with those things. You just say, all right, just press the button 1,000,000 times. Hopefully you collect.
Yeah, hopefully you get a couple good ones and move on.
You're out.
And I know I said I'm against the autograph books, and I think that's just because when I was growing up, I actually grew up in California, 20 minutes from Disneyland. So I grew up in the parks my whole life. I don't even think I had an autograph book growing up, to be honest.
So you just don't care.
So I'm like, I'm kind of indifferent, but it's more when I'm meeting Mickey Mouse and seeing him, I very much just want to get the picture. And
the picture is what's worth it, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think it's a picture, and for me, it's more the interaction. Like that's what I've loved when the kid, the princesses are asking my kids questions and they're responding, and like to me, that's more important. We do like the autographs. We like you said, we make collages out of them with the photo and stuff like that. But I think it's the experience is the most important.
I always have my video camera rolling when I'm doing that rather than pictures. My wife's taking the pictures, but I want to be able to watch. I think I did this. Oh gosh, like 2 months ago, I was with my daughter and we're watching pictures of her at like 4 years old. She's just about to turn 9, of her like interacting with Elsa for the first time, and it was awesome. Yeah. It's just so cute.
My favorite thing to do, like, usually is the video record, because then you could always go in and get screenshots of like perfect images from the video that you just took. And trust me, I am looking forward to my first hug with Mickey Mouse in over 2 years, whenever that will be.
You're not going to be first in line like that guy on Twitter, that 40-year-old dude
that pulled the George Costanza and pushed everybody out of the way so you could be first in line.
That was funny. All right, Zach. You're gonna I don't know, what's the word? You're gonna showcase your worth about being on this show, right? So we're using you here. No, I'm just kidding. So you went on Guardians of the Galaxy. Phil, why don't you set up what everybody? I'm assuming everybody here. Okay, this is the only spoilers you're gonna get. We're gonna talk about the Disney advertisement that's currently on the internet. So even if you're hiding from like the trailers that are out there, you can turn off the podcast, and I have no idea when this is going to stop for maybe the next 10 minutes. But we're going to talk. Phil's going to refer to. We're going to talk about the trailers. He's going to talk about the copy that's out there in the press, and then after that, we're going to talk to Zach about his feelings of the whole thing and tiptoe around hopefully spoilers.
Yeah. So I'm actually looking at the Disney Parks blog story that they posted today. So this is about as official as it can get. But yeah, for those of you that don't know, the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is the new attraction opening May 27th in Epcot. It is using what was the Universe of Energy show building, and then they built a secondary building where the bulk of, I think, the actual coaster part is. The Universe of Energy is more the pre-show and that sort of thing. But basically what it's set up to be is that Xandar has set up a pavilion in Epcot to be so they can show off like some of their, impressive technology they have and stuff like that or they want to share their learnings with the Earth. And so you're there to visit this, and they have a big planetarium type thing at the beginning, and you get to see all the wonders of Xandar. Of course, like in every theme park ride, something goes wrong. In this case, the Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess, show up, and they have said that the person causing the problems for Earth is one of the Celestials named Isan, and somehow, because of you going on this ride, you help the Guardians of the Galaxy save the universe. The other thing that came out was, obviously with Guardians of the Galaxy, a big thing is the songs that they use that have been from like the 80s and the 70s and stuff like that. So similar to like Rock and Roller Coaster or Rip Ride Rocket over at Universal, there will be music playing while you go on. You'll get a different song each time. And they said the 6 songs that they've had so far, I'm hoping actually in the future they add songs because it's only 6 right now. But some of these famous songs, September, Disco Inferno, Conga, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Iran, and One Way or Another are the songs that they've released so far. So that's kind of it. I mean, tech speak-wise, we know that the height requirement is 32 inches. So it's considered a family, 42 inches, not 32. 42 inches, sorry. So it's considered a family thrill ride or a family coaster. Also, the cars can spin, similar to how the Doom buggies do on Haunted Mansion. So the Imagineers can spin you to look at what they want you to look at. So they're calling it an Omni Coaster instead of an Omni Mover.
And let me interject there. You could go on YouTube and find them like the test vehicles and like an outdoor track, and it shows them how it kind of rotates. So we've been able to see that for a little over a year, I think.
Yep. And the only other thing they've released is that they said there is a reverse launch in this, so you should be aware of that if you're somebody who doesn't like going backwards. And I did get to sit in the car seats or the ride vehicles at Destination D23, and they were all individual seats, like with individual lap bars. And at least when I sat in it, they felt fairly roomy. This isn't, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, where if you're on the larger side, you're going to have issues fitting in. But I think I will probably stop talking there and turn it over to the person who's actually ridden the ride.
Well, hold on a second, because I like the whole Epcot kind of fitting in type of thing. What did everybody Zach, did you see the trailer before you go on, or did you go in completely blind?
Explain the trailer.
They did like a 20-second like TV.
It's like a like advertisement, basically, not like a real trailer. But
I saw brief glimpses of it. I actually never watched it fully, but I saw like the images of it.
Okay. Well, I mean, the reason why I did, because it had like an old school kind of feel to it, where they're referencing Walt Disney World in the actual, like, here you have the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, we have to go to Epcot. Like, it's been a hot minute, like the 90s, when they used to go and they say, like, this attraction's coming to Walt Disney World. It wasn't like an immersive land, like you're walking into the real place. This is they're playing with it being like a, an attraction type of thing. I thought that was kind of neat in breaking the fourth wall type of thing. Anyway, so Zach, you went on today. Was it worth the wait of all these years? He is silent, folks. He's thinking. If you're not watching, he's thinking and smiling right now. I'm narrating his facial expressions as he's coming up with a thought.
Yes, it was.
Yes. So this is one. This is an anticipated attraction, right? Because there hasn't been. I mean, if you want to, I was going to say there hasn't been a major attraction added in a long time, but we've gotten Galaxy's Edge and Runaway Railway within the last couple of years, and with the COVID blur of time. Out of the 3 experiences, let's say Rise, Mickey and Minnie's, and Guardians, which one were you hyped about the most, and which one was the best of all 3? I'm putting you on the spot.
me, Jason.
I did, yes. This is where tough questions are answered. There's no pancake, patty cake kind of answer.
This is hard-hitting journalism.
Please, we're professionals.
I'm going to explain it like this.
Good. Go ahead.
I had no expectations going into today.
Okay.
And that is because I am very much a Star Wars fan.
Mhm.
I am not the biggest Marvel fan in the world. I still have not seen every Marvel movie, and I'm losing a lot of credibility with all of your viewers.
No.
But literally last night and this morning, I think I watched Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 for the third time.
Okay. I've only seen them twice, both. Once in the theaters and once another time with my kids. So you're not far off my experience.
Okay, so, but anyways, I still haven't seen every Marvel movie. So, Rise of the Resistance, I think everyone can agree, blows almost everything out of the water at Walt Disney World, except if you were following our attraction March Madness bracket a few weeks ago.
Yes.
But,
well, I'd say it blows everything out of the water when it works.
Sure. Mickey and Minnie's I've fallen in love with.
I love that attraction.
It's one of my favorite attractions at Walt Disney World. I know a lot of people at least miss the Great Movie Ride. But I do love Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway so much. Ratatouille, very good addition to Epcot. I love that attraction in Epcot, actually.
I need an answer, sir.
I know. I'm drawing it all out here. I would say Guardians of the Galaxy was on probably third on that list behind Mickey and Minnie's and Rise of the Resistance for me.
Fair enough. Let's go with roller coaster or thrill ride rankings, right? So if you were to rank them with all the mountains in Animal Kingdom and Magic Kingdom, Everest, Splash, Thunder, Space, and Mine Train, where would you put Guardians in all of that?
Expedition Everest is always what I usually say is my favorite attraction at Walt Disney World.
Okay. We need context. Okay, good.
Right behind that is actually Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh, okay.
This ride is truly out of this world.
Now here I have another question. So, Thunder is not a very it's a fun attraction, but it's not themed as much as other ones. Splash is a simple log flume ride, but it's a dark ride in combination with a flume ride, so that has like higher marks. Mine Train is an outdoor coaster, so there's less theming, but they have a lot of good music and a lot of good parts in there. So from something that's almost a thrill ride and a fully themed attraction, are you giving it more points because of the theming and the experience, or more points because of the thrill aspect of it being moving around with a 360 kind of turning type of thing? Or is it both get high marks for both?
It gets high marks for both for me personally. With that, I will actually kind of say this attraction, if you want the perspective, think Space Mountain, but the Disneyland Space Mountain in more particular, because it's actually a very smooth roller coaster. But also get the kind of the looks of also Space Mountain and Rock and Roller Coaster.
Okay.
With having the spinning kind of like Toy Story Midway Mania, as they're going to be spinning you to look at the different show elements that you'll be seeing throughout the ride.
Now, for those that are concerned about, thrill attractions, it might not be their favorite attraction. They might be worried or a little scared about going on it, but they definitely want to experience it. But they've never experienced anything that spins them. Should they be worried about getting dizzy or weird inertia things outside the normal thrill ride kind of movement? He's shaking his head slowly and thinking, folks.
I'll answer how I want to say. Definitely know your body. I know people have been asking me, is the spinning intense? It's not really intense to me. It's not Mad Tea Party intense. but it's going to move you around. You're going to be looking backwards some of the time, even out of the launch, just because that's how the cars are moving. So,
well, then let me add some another level of that. Are you getting whiplash with it, or is it nice smooth movement as it's turning you around, or is it like quick, or is it like gradual, or both?
it's very smooth.
Okay,
Very smooth.
I think that's what a lot of people worry about. They're going fast, and then they get spun around like super fast, and their neck's gonna start hurting and stuff like that. I think that's what people are afraid of, that type of thing.
At least with my experience and what I can remember, because honestly, when you experience an attraction for the first time, you're on a very high and you don't necessarily remember it the first time.
That's true. Very true. Phil, there anything you want to ask? Because I'm kind of getting my thoughts with some other stuff.
So I had two questions. One, kind of to build on that, just for people that are wondering a general thrill level compared to the other coasters. Like if you can do Slinky Dog but not Everest, or can do Big Thunder but maybe not Rock and Roller Coaster, do you think people could still do this one? Or where, if people who are kind of moderate coaster people, not big time ones, where do you think? Because I know some people are like, I really like Guardians. I really want to see the attraction, but I'm not really a coaster person. How do you think they would feel about this?
I think moderate coasters are fine. It's really not that intense. So if you could do Space Mountain, Big Thunder, those coasters, you should be good to go with this personally.
Okay. And then the last question I had was kind of going back to the whole fitting it in at Epcot and how Disney, their story is that Epcot their quote was, Epcot just may be the perfect place for a Guardians-inspired attraction because Peter Quill actually visited Epcot as a kid. And obviously a lot of people felt that was just a little bit forced to try to make it fit. So I don't know, how did you feel about this attraction being placed in Epcot, and has riding it changed your opinion of that?
I really want to experience more of it to get an actual answer, as I still haven't seen everything that this attraction has to offer. But with that, I think it can belong in Epcot, especially in the area that it's in. And that's mostly because it's in the World Discovery area of Epcot.
I think that's right.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to myself. So, because there's World Discovery, World Celebration in the middle, and then World Nature over by the Living Seas Pavilion outside. But yeah, World Discovery. So you're kind of going and discovering a new world with your favorite characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Guardians of the Galaxy. So, but with that, I think it does belong in Epcot, especially kind of just how Epcot seems to be going and adding some more IP, which I'm actually a fan of. I know it's a very heated debate, but
I'm on your side. It's okay. You're outnumbered. You might be Phil might be outnumbered here. It's okay.
I'm open to it when it's done well, and it sounds like this was done fairly well. I'm not a fan of shoving it in just to shove it in.
It was done very well. My thought process is, I'm going to a Disney park. I want to experience Disney things. So just kind of having this futuristic thing going into Epcot, especially Epcot's first roller coaster. I don't know if you consider Test Track a roller coaster, but it is high speed. But just in many ways, I really think it's a really great addition to Epcot and a really great addition to Walt Disney World, and I really can't wait for everyone listening to this to experience this attraction May 27th. It really is out of this world phenomenal, in my opinion.
Phil, the one thing I didn't realize after you reading the parks blog about their description, I didn't realize it's the premises. This was like their showcase of technology. I mean, that totally makes sense being in Epcot, right? I never thought about that, so I thought that was really cool.
They call it like the Xandar Pavilion. So in some ways, it's almost like a World Showcase Pavilion. So but instead of Japan, it's Xandar. So you would go there to learn about the wonders of Xandar, and that's kind of their outpost on the Earth.
Yep.
Or at least that's the setup.
Now, Zach, before we move on, I want to say thank you for sharing your experiences with it. Is there anything like you might want to add to kind of throw out there that I'm not asking? I mean, we're obviously we're avoiding spoilers. Actually, here's the one last question I have for you, because they've leaned on the storytelling of this attraction, right? They couldn't put it out there because they had to wait for Volume 3's shooting, so they get all the characters in costume, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a huge emphasis on that part of it. Does the wait pay off with their level of, putting you in the story, so to speak?
I don't want to answer that because that will give away some spoilers.
Okay. No, well, maybe. Okay, so without talking about story elements, does the experience match what people might be expecting because they put so much emphasis on the story elements of it, meaning, they had to shoot it with the movie, that type of thing? If people had great expectations because they were hyping it up, will they be almost or like close to being met, most likely?
I'm not 100% really certain with that. So
Okay. Well, but Phil, the reason why I asked this is because it's going to be. We know it's largely going to be a screen-based ride, if I'm correct on saying that. I'm just curious if like this, you get immersed like you do Mickey and Minnie's with their screen-based kind of showcasing, or is it something that's like this is going to be really fun, but its emphasis on the ride vehicle and the thrillness of it to carry over some of the, it's not really a dark ride type of thing.
I mean, you are going to see the characters, and you are going to see different aspects as you are going through the ride and seeing the characters. And also, I don't know. I want to say stuff, but I can't.
Phil, when can we do a spoiler show?
Yeah,
I want to know. I want to know. I don't mind getting spoiled.
I guess after May 27th, maybe we could put it out there. But one thing I do want to say, because I know we talked about it beforehand. I forget if we mentioned it before, but I know Zach didn't actually get to see the pre-show stuff. So I'm sure they just did the cast members were just doing the actual ride part. So some of that immersion and what they filmed, I think, is for the pre-show. So that might make it even harder for him to sort of judge whether it was worth it or not.
I will say one thing. So if you have any listeners, cover your ears for 10 seconds starting now. With the story elements, you will see the characters, but it may not be just for the filming of the characters. It could be also for the recording, because you may not see the characters, but you're hearing them as well. Okay,
fair enough. All right, spoilers over, just in case you turn down the radio or you're turned off your phone, whatever. Okay, great. No, I think we should have you on, Zach, again. Well, for probably multiple other reasons as time goes on. But I think what do you think? Like midsummer, Phil, was most people, if they were like really shooting for it, they would have gotten down there in the summer months. We could talk about this down the road, because I'm going to try to do this spoiler free, but I guarantee you I'm not going to get down there soon enough. I'm going to actually find all the spoilers and not really care about myself. Anyway,
are you guys coming down here to experience the attraction, or
anytime soon?
At this point, I'm targeting December, so I'm hoping Tron might be open then too. So we'll see if I can do a 2-for. But
I have no trip planned for the first time in like 6 years, so I'm gonna see if we could do a micro getaway sometime this fall or summer if a good offer pops up, like a last minute type of thing. So we'll see. Okay, so we're just over halfway mark through the show, and we want to get to the next topic. Phil, this one was yours. I have not listened to the latest episode of Happily Everything Disney, but you found this one, so why don't you look?
Yeah, so latest episode of the show that Matt put together that Christina and Mike are also on, called the Happily Everything Disney podcast. But their latest episode, they looked at the shows at Walt Disney World, and I felt like that's something that we don't discuss as much on our podcast, so I thought it was a good thing to go through.
Sure.
And what they did was they each ranked their top 10 shows, and then they kind of combined it into one list. So I thought it'd be interesting to read off their list, get some reaction from the three of us if if we agree with the list, if there's anything on there that's surprising, and then also if we think there's anything missing from their list that we think deserve to be in the top 10 of shows at Walt Disney World. And just to be clear, they didn't include nighttime spectaculars or parades. These are like shows where you sit in an audience and either watch performers or a film or animatronics or something like that. So starting at number 10 and working our way up to number 1, their number 10 is Muppets 3D. Number 9 is The Carousel of Progress. 8 is Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. 7 was the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular. 6 was It's Tough to Be a Bug. 5 was Beauty and the Beast Live on Stage. 4, Country Bear Jamboree. 3, Frozen Sing-Along. 2, Mickey's PhilharMagic. And the top one was Festival of the Lion King.
So, I mean, I look at this list and I don't know what to think. Because I'm typically not a huge fan of many of the sit-down shows at Walt Disney World to start with. But there's one thing here that's just like not even showing that it just surprises the heck out of me. Zach, are you picking up what I'm putting? What I'm putting down? What show's missing from this list? I know you've got it in front of us. You can't see it, but it's glaringly obvious to me.
I have something on that that's not on that list that I think is the number one. But
what is that? Okay, let's start there. What is your number one that's not on there?
I mean, I don't know. Because the number one is in my top 2. But my number one is the Voices of Liberty in Epcot, obviously, if you know me well enough.
Yeah, that's true. I actually have to ask Matt if they counted things like Voices of Liberty or, other streetmosphere type things versus, much more like there's a set time that things happen. But yes, I agree. Voices of Liberty is something that if that was included, that should have been on the list.
I think this is mostly things you can get fast passes for and sit down and do. Right? I think anyway, because I'm just surprised Hall of Presidents is not on here. That's what I was alluding to.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So,
yeah,
I mean, that would be up there with me. I mean, they've got like Country Bear Jamboree I really love. That's high up on the list for me. That's always comical, and it's never full, so it's never kind of crazy. Carousel of Progress is always a must-do, so that has to be top 3 as well. Festival of the Lion King. I do not understand people's love for this show. I don't get it. I mean, it's beautifully done. The actors are great. There's good singing. I just don't enjoy the show as a whole. Am I the only one here? I mean, not that I don't enjoy it. I just don't get the excitement for it. What do you guys think about Festival of the Lion King being number 1 on that list? Phil.
So I think it's a great show. I think it's of that type of show, like kind of stage show with live actors. I think it's the best one on property. So I think it's definitely worthy to be the number 1 on this list. So it definitely would be, if not number 1, in my top couple.
See, I mean, Zach, what did you want to say? You're about to say something.
I very much want to shake my head at you. As one, The Lion King is my all-time favorite Disney movie. If that discussion is going to happen in a few minutes.
Well, I voted for it too, so don't get me wrong. I love Hakuna Matata is my favorite song of any Disney song ever made. So it's not a Lion King thing though.
Yeah, so I mean, Festival of the Lion King in its proper form is a wonderful show.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now, with its current form, I still think is a wonderful show. The actors are giving 150% every performance.
Absolutely.
I can always tell. The show's always fun. They've tried to still get some guest interaction, which I appreciate. I can't wait for the Tumble Monkeys and more so for the Flying Birds to come back, because the Flying Birds are my favorite portion of that show. Can You Feel the Love Tonight is like my favorite moment there. Festival of Lion King, I think they got that at least right. I could agree with that. being number one on their list easily. My surprise is I think right now it could be more so just because it could be the current list of offerings, but at least we know it's coming back in some form. But Finding Nemo the musical could be kind of still on that list, maybe.
True.
Yeah, they mentioned that because it's not back and it's coming back in a different form, and they haven't seen that they decided to not include that. Not that it wouldn't be worthy in the original version, but
I want to defend my Festival of the Lion King a bit more before you guys decide to just hang up on this show halfway through. I still think it's top 5, right? I'm not saying it's the worst show on property by any means, but I would probably, with my children, and then prefacing with that, with my whole family, I'd probably end up seeing Country Bear Jamboree, Carousel of Progress, and Frozen Sing Along before I'm walking into Festival of the Lion King. Now, it might be because I went on the most humid, steamiest, rainy day the last time I saw it, and that might be biasing my opinion of the show. But again, it's probably the most well-produced show, acted, and it has amazing talent. Like no other show matches the skill level required to put on that show the 6 to 8 times a day that they used to do it. So I'm not trying to poo-poo the talent and the skill and the craft that goes behind it. There's a lot of nostalgia like tapped into my top 3 at this point.
And I will say, Festival of the Lion King is normally said to be the most popular show on property, and people do wait easily an hour for that show.
I don't doubt it at all. I also, here's another thing that surprised me too on their top 5 is the Beauty and Beast stage show, which is archaic and ancient.
That one surprised me, and that it made the list and that it made it that high. I think it was Christina. Like she just has, I think, a ton of nostalgia with watching it with her daughters and stuff like that.
Because the show's that old.
Yeah, that's my take on it. It's just a very old-fashioned style show versus how you see they put on similar shows on the cruise ships and stuff like that. Like it could totally be updated a lot. So that was one thing that surprised me how high that was on the list.
I will say, Beauty and the Beast is in my top 5. I do like that show. The actors are great, and I kind of like how it has that old style feel to it.
There's not a wrong answer here.
Yeah.
Hollywood studios have kind of that. It gives that life to Hollywood studios, and I think it fits that outdoor amphitheater well.
I would say, yes, it fits that theater well, but that theater is such an awesome space that I think they could do so much more with it. It's in my opinion.
Now, I have a question though. I can't remember. Was Frozen Sing Along on that list?
Number 3. It was number 3.
It was number 3. Worthy. Those 2 actors that make that show funny are always hilarious, and I love going in and belting my singing voice out to all my favorite parts.
The first time I saw the show, 2017 was the first time I actually got in there to see it. I thought it was just, all right, we're going to see some, screen, and we're going to sing some songs, and my daughter's going to be super happy. But I went in with the 2 actors making the whole show. It was awesome. Just the comedy and everything else. That's what made it repeatable to me. And it's just not like, a silly sing-along show. And I got to love the snow that comes down at the end. My kids love that when that happens. What I'm surprised. Go ahead, Phil. Sorry.
I was going to say the one that that nobody's mentioned so far, and that never even got mentioned on Matt's show, but for me would definitely be in the top 10 and probably towards the top.
Kite Tales?
Is the American Adventure. I think that's just the audio animatronics in that is unbelievable. To me, it's better than Hall of Presidents and stuff like that. I think it's a fantastic show.
Did they preface this the world only?
Well, no, that's in Epcot.
Oh, that show. Okay, I got confused with Zach mentioning the Voices of Liberty. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was thinking about that originally as well.
So that one I was a little surprised. They didn't even mention it like honorable mention or anything like that. And I feel like that's one of those shows a lot of people that have gone to Disney a lot have never even seen, because it's all the way back in Epcot. And if you don't think about it, you don't see it, but it's really a fantastically put together show. And I guess that's my tip for today is if you haven't seen it, please go see it.
That or Hall of Presidents, both of them. I think those are both must-dos in any trip to Walt Disney World. If it's your first time, you have to see at least one of them.
Yeah.
If not, both of them, if you can do it. The one thing, the other surprise, again, is number 2 is Mickey's PhilharMagic. I don't understand why that. There's so many better shows. And granted, I haven't seen the updated version of that, so maybe that boosters it. But I don't know.
And let's say the projection now on PhilharMagic, you could see that show so much clearer right now.
Is it? Because I haven't seen the new one, obviously.
Yeah, I've seen it. I think it's great. The Coco scene is great. 2 of the 3 of the hosts, Matt and Mike, had seen the updated version, and they were the ones who ranked it high. I think it's. I don't know if I'd have it as number 2, but I think would have it in my top 5 or certainly on my list. I think it's a great show, and it's one of those. It's like an all-star collection of Disney animated films, and it's got Mickey and Donald, and so I think to me that's another must-do. Like, we do that every trip, and you don't have to wait usually that long. But yeah, 2's pretty high for it, but I think it's worthy of being on the list for sure.
All right, let's move on to attractionality. We're at the final 4 movies. So if you don't know, Adam, a.k.a. Castastone, put together a bracket. I guess he was getting jealous of all the attention Zach was getting for his bracket that he did. And he basically did 60 – I think we did 64 different movies, and they broke it down. There's a wild card, et cetera, et cetera. If you listen to our previous show, we kind of broke it all down. But now we're at the final 4. Right now we're at Cinderella versus Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King versus Moana. Now, for a time, when I voted, The Lion King and Moana were tied with my vote, and that's obviously changed.
Yeah. So these matches are over. These were the final 4 matches to give to the finals, and the final vote is going on right now,
which I haven't seen because I think that changed today because I've been off Discord all day today. Okay, so.
I feel like I caused quite a stir on this.
I had to skip through a lot of stuff. There was like 1,000 messages when I logged on this afternoon. So where'd you go with the vote, Zach? And what are your feelings?
So I guess in the matchup of Cinderella versus Beauty and the Beast, where did you go?
I have boycotted that matchup.
Oh. All right.
No, it's Moana versus Beauty and the Beast. But
that's the final now. But to get to the final, so it was Cinderella had won the classic region. It had beat out Peter Pan, and it was up against Beauty and the Beast in the throwback region, which had beat the Little Mermaid. And in the end, Beauty and the Beast won that one fairly handedly.
Yes, I voted for Beauty and the Beast for that.
And then in the other side of the bracket, in the Renaissance region, the winner was The Lion King, which had beat Aladdin to get there. And in the modern region, it was Moana, which had beat Tangled to get there. And in the end, Moana beat The Lion King with about 2/3 of the vote. But yeah, that one was going back and forth for a bit, and then I think Moana pulled away a little bit at the end, much to the chagrin of, I think everybody on this podcast. I think we all voted for The Lion King, but especially to Zach, I think he took this one hard.
I did. I obviously voted for The Lion King, and I don't understand it. I really don't.
I voted for I mean, we could talk about the soundtrack conversation again. I still think Moana has one of the best soundtracks ever in a Disney movie, just from its collection. And if the only one that could test a chance in my mind to beat it out is the Lion King soundtrack. So I had to vote the Lion King because it has my favorite song in it, even though Moana is a family favorite. Beauty and the Beast versus Cinderella. I don't think there's any contest there, personally. Both, you're going against an ultra classic. Zach's shaking his head in disgust at my words right now. But Beauty and the Beast, every time I watch that movie and I hear some of the music, it warms my heart a little bit. And I usually sing. I sing more with that movie than I do the Cinderella movie, even though Cinderella's a classic. I don't know what to say. Go ahead, Zach. You can roast me. It's fine.
Oh no, I was agreeing with you.
Oh, you were, because you were like shaking your head at me. Go ahead. Sorry. So why do you agree with me? Because I love when people agree.
Like you were saying, like I forget exactly what you said now, but you were saying like you'll sing more with Beauty and the Beast, and And I was like, kind of like, yeah, I was agreeing with that. And I can't remember the exact wording of why I shook my head no, but.
But I mean, like, if it comes on, we're playing, Disney favorites on Amazon Music in the car, and the Beauty and Beast comes up, I'm embarrassing the heck out of all my children. I'm rolling down the windows, I'm picking them up for school or something, and I'm singing that song, even though it's a 6'2" man with a beard in the front of a Pathfinder picking up the kids singing this song. I love that music.
So I know. Everyone now knows I'm upset the Lion King lost, but that's mostly because, I'll go on the record and say that Moana is very close to not my favorite Disney movie. What
does that mean? Close to not your favorite Disney movie?
It's in, my bottom 5.
Okay.
I actually don't really like the movie.
Ooh.
I just haven't really gotten into it. I know that's going to be a heated discussion.
Oh, it will be. Absolutely. Now, why? I want to get into this. Why is that not your favorite movie? Why haven't you got? Is that something you can answer? It's just like I just don't like it, and just that's how it is.
I don't necessarily know. I just never got into it.
Okay.
It's more like I know you said, or both of you, I think, have said in recent time that you like the Moana soundtrack. I can only tell you 2 songs from that movie.
Fair.
So it's just kind of how I kind of weave through it. And it's also, I think I've only watched it twice.
The first time I saw it, I had to bring my oldest daughter out of the movie there because she was getting scared of Taka and everything else. She was getting frightened, yet my 4-year-old watched it religiously for 3 months straight, 5 times a day if we let her. So I've watched it plenty of times. But not everybody has to be attached to every Disney movie. And that's fine.
Yeah,
and no one's
it would have been pretty boring if we did this vote and every single vote was 100% to 0%. So that's why, right?
I don't necessarily want to deny everyone's opinion. I understand that it's one of the best Disney movies out there. I can't think of the word. The kids resemble a lot with the movie, with the character Moana, and I think that's great. And I do know some of the songs, the 2 songs I do know from that movie I do like. But it's more just in my overall general scheme, I haven't connected with the movie, so it's just not necessarily on my list.
That's perfectly fine. For those that are out there that are wondering where the vote's going right now, you have the championship match, Beauty and the Beast versus Moana. Beauty and the Beast is doubling up on Moana's vote currently. So if you haven't joined Discord yet, now's your chance to get on. When does the voting end, Phil? I don't even know if this show's going to be out with the
No, the voting ends in 1 minute. So
in 1 minute. I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was ending
and I'm
tomorrow.
looking at. These are basically the scores, so I think we can pretty much call this the winner. So ultimately, the winner will be Beauty and the Beast, beating Moana. We did have a 3rd place vote, which the Lion King is going to win that over Cinderella. So the Lion King will come in 3rd. Beauty and the Beast will win the whole thing overall. So I guess we kind of went, with some relative classics. We have Beauty and the Beast as our pick for animated movie, and after having Haunted Mansion as our pick for attraction. So you can kind of tell where a lot of the Discord community is.
And more what their age bracket is.
Yeah.
With a lot of this.
I do think Beauty and the Beast is very well deserving of that title.
I think so. The animation in it was good, but it wasn't, top notch like how Frozen was a step up in the animation department in studios. But the storytelling, the voice acting, the music, and everything else it was a complete package, and that's why I think it won a lot of acclaim at the time.
It's an interesting thing because I certainly think it could be viewed as the best Disney movie, especially for the time it was out, because obviously technology changes. Yep. I think there's, I don't know if many is the right word, but quite a few other movies I would pick before it to watch that I just enjoy more. but it's certainly like Zach said, I think it's worthy of winning it based off of just the quality of production that it was.
I'll tell you this right now, and maybe we can end with this unless somebody else wants to talk about Disney movies, is there are certain times in, we have movie nights in the family on Fridays, and sometimes if we start early and the movie's done about a half hour before bedtime, or we're finishing up a movie from the previous night, I will always put on the first 30 minutes of Beauty and the Beast and watch that opening sequence every single time and be satisfied, and I don't have to watch the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I just love how the movie opens.
That song "Belle" is just it's probably the peak of that era.
And that's what I'll sing in front of my kids at their
Yep.
high school graduation. I'll get up and start singing that type of thing. So I think
This is a well-rounded movie.
It certainly is. It certainly is. All right, Phil. We had a couple other topics, but like anything else, we always go longer. So we don't want to go over an hour. We're right there on that mark. So I think we're going to save this for next week because the Genie Plus topic is going to
still be a topic next week.
Still be a
it's
topic.
Not going anywhere.
But to give you a little hint, just in case it gets old hat and we don't bring up this specific topic of it, Disney put out a little notice in fine print at Walt Disney World that guests can expect only 2 to 3 attractions for the cost. And I know in Disneyland, they're starting to say, people, maybe you should check. Maybe it's not worth buying. I don't know. Take a look at it. So little backfire on operations from Disney's point of view. And there's a lot we can get into, but we can't get into it in the next 4 minutes. So we're going to hold off on that. And Zach's just like, oh, yes, preach. We know, we understand. And I feel not pity. I feel sad for every cast member in the front lines having to deal with guest relations and guest recovery, having to deal with angry persons that I just spent $70 for my family and all I got was the Tiki Room in Carousel of Progress. Well, that's not even on there, but I just feel bad. It's just all right. So I promised I wouldn't get into it. I'm opening up the conversation now. So we're going to save that. We're going to save that for next week. Zach, thank you so much for coming on. Sharing your experiences with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I'm sorry we frustrated you so much by asking questions that were leading to spoilers. I saw the consternation and stress on your face as we were going through it. So if you were listening on the podcast, please wind up on YouTube, hit subscribe and like, and watch Zach's tortured looks throughout the podcast as I was asking him questions. It's very entertaining. I'm certainly going to screenshot some of them and put them on the title page for YouTube as a thumbnail, and it's going to be great. That being said, thank you.
Guys, have a great night. Good to see you both.
Very too. Have a good night, everybody else, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.